Simple transmission. It's not a difficult thing. Allow the elections to go through the normal process. Whoever wins will accept. So why are you bringing us of confusion?
Nigeria woke up on the morning of February 9, 2026, to a moment that may very well define the future of its democracy. It was not a military parade, not an election result announcement, not a declaration from Aso Rock. Instead, it was a calm but powerful gathering of ordinary Nigerians, civil society groups, youths, professionals, and democracy advocates standing shoulder to shoulder in front of the National Assembly in Abuja. At the center of this historic moment stood a familiar figure, Peter Obi, former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, quietly but firmly leading a peaceful protest that carried a loud message. Nigeria's democracy must be protected, not weakened. This protest was not about noise. It was not about violence. It was not about burning tires or shouting insults. It was about principles. It was about the soul of the Nigerian electoral process. It was about the simple but powerful demand that the votes of Nigerians must count, and must be seen to count in real time. From early hours of the morning, protesters began arriving at the National Assembly complex. Some wore white, symbolizing peace. Others carried placards, boldly demanding accountability. Messages like "Make electronic transmission of results mandatory," "Defend our democracy," and "Our votes are not for sale" could be seen clearly. These were not hired crowds. These were citizens who had come out because they were tired of recycled excuses, tired of manipulated outcomes, tired of elections whose results seemed to travel mysteriously in the dark before appearing changed. When Peter Obi arrived, there was no convoy drama, no sirens, no excessive security display. He walked among the people, greeted them, listened to them, and stood with them. In that moment, the protest took on a deeper meaning. It became a statement that leadership is not about occupying office, but about standing with the people even when it is inconvenient. To understand why this protest shook the political space, one must understand what triggered it. Just days earlier, the Nigerian Senate had passed the Electoral Act 2022, Repeal and Reenactment, Amendment Bill 2026. Buried within the amendment was a change that alarmed many Nigerians: the removal of the words "real-time" from provisions relating to electronic transmission of election results. To some, this might sound like a small grammatical adjustment, but to those who understand Nigerian elections, this was no small matter. That single removal opened a wide door, a door many Nigerians have seen abused before, a door through which results disappear, reappear, and are altered, a door that takes power away from voters and hands it back to political manipulation. Peter Obi and other democracy advocates saw this clearly, and rather than complain from the comfort of social media alone, they chose to act. After the protest, Peter Obi took to X, formerly Twitter, to explain why he joined the demonstration. His words were calm, deliberate, and unmistakably firm. He said the protest was his way of identifying with the people, not as a politician seeking office, but as a citizen demanding fairness. One statement from his post struck a deep chord across Nigeria. Peter Obi said that titles such as honorable, distinguished, and excellency should not be automatic decorations handed out by flawed systems. Instead, he insisted that only those who emerge through transparent, credible, and honorable processes deserve such titles. This was not an attack on individuals. It was a challenge to a culture where power is often celebrated without legitimacy, where process is sacrificed for outcome, and where respect is demanded rather than earned. In Peter Obi's words, the demands of the protesters were clear and non-negotiable. Nigeria must return credibility to its elections, starting with transparent result transmission. The presence of the obedient movement was impossible to miss. Young Nigerians, students, professionals, creatives, entrepreneurs stood proudly, many holding placards, some chanting softly, others simply observing with quiet determination. This was the same movement that reshaped political engagement during the 2023 elections, and here they were again, refusing to disappear into silence. Civil society organizations, pro-democracy activists, and opposition figures also lent their voices. What united them was not party loyalty, but principle. This protest was not about Labour Party versus APC or PDP. It was about Nigeria versus electoral darkness. For many of these young people, this was not just politics. It was personal. They had voted before. They had queued under the sun. They had watched results announced that did not reflect what they witnessed at polling units. This protest was their way of saying, never again. At the core of the protest was one demand: mandatory real-time electronic transmission of election results. Peter Obi addressed this directly while speaking to journalists and supporters. He dismissed the familiar excuse that some parts of Nigeria lack network coverage. According to him, this argument collapses under simple logic. He compared elections to Nigeria's banking system, a comparison that resonated strongly. Banks operate across all states of Nigeria. Taxes are collected digitally. Transfers happen daily, even in remote areas. ATMs function. POS machines work. If Nigeria can securely move billions of naira across digital platforms every single day, then transmitting election results in real time should not be impossible. Peter Obi's message was clear: if technology can protect money, it can protect votes. Another powerful point raised by Peter Obi during the protest was the issue of leadership qualification. He insisted that anyone seeking public office must present verifiable records of their primary, secondary, and tertiary education, in addition to meeting constitutional requirements such as age and competence. This statement struck at another long-standing issue in Nigerian politics: the culture of ambiguity surrounding credentials. According to him, leadership must be built on integrity from the very beginning. No shortcuts, no secrecy, no bending of rules. He also emphasized the importance of open campaigns, public scrutiny, and debates as required by law. Democracy, he argued, does not thrive in darkness. It thrives in openness. Perhaps one of the most emotionally charged moments was when Peter Obi spoke about Nigeria's image on the African continent. He described the country as a so-called giant of Africa that disgraces the continent, a painful but honest reflection. He challenged Nigerians to imagine a different identity, a Nigeria known not for chaos, but for order, not for impunity, but for justice, not for mistrust, but for credibility. According to him, credible elections are the foundation upon which such a nation must be built. Without trust in the electoral process, everything else collapses: governance, unity, development, and national pride. One of the most encouraging aspects of the protest was youth participation. Peter Obi made special mention of this, urging young Nigerians not to relent. He acknowledged their energy, their courage, and their persistence. He reminded them that meaningful change is rarely quick, but it is always worth fighting for. According to him, the struggle for electoral reform is not a sprint, it is a marathon.